Third rung, one hand on the gutter, reaching further than you should, but here's what nobody tells you. 81 to 89% of ladder falls are men. I watched a stronger man than me go down exactly like that. So which one are you? Trained for that moment or hoping? Stay, and you'll know which one. I'm Atlas Reed. Subscribe, you belong here. Point 1. There's a mistake almost every fit man over 60 is making right now, and it has nothing to do with how much he can lift. I watched a stronger man than me lose his footing on a bathroom floor. He'd been physically powerful his entire life. It didn't matter, not that morning, not on wet tile, reaching for a towel rail that wasn't there. Men account for somewhere between 81 and 89% of ladder fall injuries treated in emergency rooms. Not because men climb more ladders than sense allows, but because most men have never trained the thing that actually keeps them upright on one. Think about a table with 3 legs. Vision is one leg. Your inner ear is another. The feeling in your feet and ankles, what tells your brain where the ground actually is, that's the third. Most strength training builds a beautiful tabletop and completely ignores 2 of the legs holding it up. A man can spend 3 years under a barbell, add real muscle, feel genuinely stronger walking into any room, and still be one bad step from a floor deciding the next chapter for him, because nobody ever mentioned the other 2 legs existed. At 61, 3 years into rebuilding strength I'd let slip in my 50s. I watched my father, stronger than most men his whole life, go down reaching for a towel rail that wasn't there and never fully trust his legs again. The research on it says strength and balance are entirely separate trained systems. So if lifting heavier weights was never the thing standing between him and that floor, what actually is? Point 2. The answer is 3 systems working together every second you're upright, and every one of them can decline without you noticing a thing. Balance doesn't fail all at once. It fails one system at a time, quietly, vision first, sometimes, or the inner ear, or the nerves in your feet, until one ordinary afternoon asks for more than what's left. There's research behind every part of this, so nobody has to take it on faith. The clinical term for the inner ear's slow decline is presbiastasis, the balance equivalent of what most men already know happens to hearing with age. Nobody panics about needing reading glasses. This deserves the same plain attention, not more. And here's the quiet cost of ignoring it. Roughly a third of older adults already describe some fear of falling, and that number climbs toward 3 and 4 once a man has already gone down once. Fear that's specific doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from a body that's been sending signals nobody taught him to read. Here's the payoff worth knowing. Unlike a lot of what comes with age, none of this is fixed. Vision, inner ear, and the feel in your feet all respond to targeted training at 60, at 70, at 80, which raises the obvious question. If balance fails silently, system by system, how would you know whether yours already has? And more importantly, is there anything that actually reverses it? Point 3. This is what doesn't get checked at a normal physical. Not because it doesn't matter, but because nobody asks. Balance and fall risk are rarely screened as part of routine care, which means most men are flying blind on exactly the system most likely to end their independence. Here's what does work. Structured balance training programs, the kind physical therapists actually prescribe after a fall, not before, have been studied for decades, which is exactly the structured protocol that Still Standing After 60 walks through, step by step, start to finish. It's linked in the description below. If you're watching on TV right now, scan the QR code on your screen. One study specifically comparing outcomes for older men and women who completed one of these programs found that men who worked through it cut their fall risk by 39%, almost exactly the number in this video's title. And not a coincidence. That's not a lucky number. That's what happens when all 3 systems, vision, inner ear, and the feeling in your feet, get trained on purpose instead of left to chance, the way most men leave them for their entire lives. So the training half of this equation has an answer, but there's a second half almost nobody addresses, and it might already be sitting in your medicine cabinet. Point 4. Because training your balance is only half the picture. The other half is what's quietly working against you at home every single day, whether you've noticed it or not. Nearly all adults over 65 today are prescribed at least one medication known to raise fall risk, up from just over half of adults less than 3 decades ago. None of this means throwing anything away or panicking about a prescription. It means knowing exactly which of these apply to you specifically. And that's not a 5-minute answer or a video you scroll past. So try this right where you're sitting, stand up, and see how long you can hold your weight on one leg before you touch down or reach for something to steady yourself. 10 seconds is the number researchers associate with meaningfully lower fall risk. Not perfect balance, 10 seconds. Time yourself right now. Actually count it. Was it 3 seconds? Was it 11? Whatever that number was, it just told you something your last physical never did. Point 5. My father's fall didn't happen because he was weak. It happened because nobody had ever taught him that strength and balance are different conversations entirely, and by the time the floor asked the question, only one of them had ever been trained. Here's the full picture. Your balance runs on 3 systems that decline quietly and separately, whether or not you're paying attention to them. Those systems can be tested in under a minute at home with no equipment and no appointment required. They can be trained back deliberately with a protocol shown to cut fall risk by nearly 40% in men specifically. Not through more strength, but through the 2 legs of that table nobody ever mentioned. And the home environment around you. The medication, the footwear, the lighting, the glasses on your face right now either supports everything you just trained or quietly undoes it overnight. Put those 3 things together, and a fall stops being something that happens to a man and becomes something a man simply prepared for, the same way he'd prepare for anything else that mattered. This isn't panic, it's one plain choice made early. A man who trains this isn't managing decline. He's protecting every plan he's still got. The trip he hasn't booked yet, the grandchild who isn't born yet, the stairs in a house he has no intention of leaving. The floor doesn't care how much a man can bench. It only cares whether he trained for it. Everything covered today, the 3 systems, the 10-second test, what's quietly working against you at home, that's the exact walkthrough waiting for you next, in order, with nothing skipped. Still Standing After 60 is built around the same structured protocol shown to cut fall risk by nearly 40% in men, plus the home and testing side that most programs leave out entirely. It's linked in the description below. If you're watching on TV, scan the QR code on your screen now. The men who wait usually aren't being lazy. They're waiting for a reason that feels urgent enough. And too often, that reason ends up being the fall itself and everything it quietly takes with it. The confidence, the independence, sometimes the ability to live alone at all. If this is the kind of training intelligence you want every week, subscribe. We put out videos weekly, and everyone is built for men serious about staying independent. I'm Atlas Reed. Keep doing the work.